I'm Tom Dennis, CEO of Serenity in Leadership. What we do is make organizations safe for people to work in by helping them overcome challenges and achieve successful, lasting outcomes whilst always putting their people at the heart of the business. Today, I'm delighted as part of our series exploring leading responsibly in a VUCA world with integrity and purpose to welcome Dean Carter. Dean was a corporate officer leading global HR and shared services at Patagonia and is now a director of Griffith Foods, the global traceable and sustainable food ingredients experts. Dean is passionate about climate, purpose, culture, and leadership, and has been recognized with multiple awards for innovation. He's been pushing the edge of HR conversations for a long time now. Welcome, Dean. It's wonderful to have you here.
Tom, thank you. Thank you very much. It's great to talk with you and be here today. But thank you. That was a very humbling introduction.
Well, you know, I am so excited. I always have been by Patagonia, and so to be able to talk to somebody who's got such an intimate knowledge of the organization is it feels like a great honor for me. So I've got so many questions to ask you. Let's get stuck in.
All right.
How important do you think it is to be a visionary leader, and what have been your experiences of working with visionary leaders?
You know what? I started with the perspective, and then I thought, okay, I'm going to Google this. What is a visionary leader? And just kind of went through, and there are like 30 definitions of visionary leader. Like there's a lot of ways of looking at it in the view, and some of us highly technical, and some of us highly like very ethereal in terms of what's a visionary leader. But when I got started thinking about it, here's a visionary leader for me. Someone who has a compelling kind of view of the future. So in some way, their way of looking at the future is a very compelling thing to align behind. The second thing I think is important is it not only just a compelling future, but it's possible. Like I can see a path and I can see that actions can be taken to get there. And then the third is I think visionary leaders have a way of communicating this and telling the story about what could be in a way that makes people want to be a part of making that vision happen. So I think those are, if I think about like visionary leaders who do that well, I mean, a lot of them are from my interactions at Patagonia, but I think Yvon Chouinard is brilliant at this. He has a vision, like, let's save this. His vision and his mission is to save the planet. And he is so crystal clear about this. And he provides paths for us to figure out how to do it, either save it or destroy it slower. And at the end of the day, he's amazing at storytelling. Like, and the company is amazing at telling the story. And every time he tells a story, then we're all in and thinking, okay, yes, this is terrifying if we don't do it, and it's possible. It's possible if we just kind of lean in. So he's a great, and I think about Rose Mercurio also, who's a really visionary leader. And the time that I worked with her, CEO of Patagonia, and you know, she had a vision of lifting the Patagonia's voice for good, and using it and the voice and the influence to save big places like Bears Ears and ultimately sue the president over it. Like that was visionary, very specific action, and we all rallied behind it. And yeah, those are really, you know, examples of visionary leaders who do big, unimaginable things, show pretty much a reasonable path to get there, and then they tell an inspiring story, and you're just like, yes, I'm in.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Do you think it's more important in 2022, in our incredibly volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world, to be a leader who leads responsibly and with purpose? Or has that always been vital, and we're just naming it more now?
You know, I think I was kind of thinking back again of like historic leaders. You know, we talk about how crazy things are right now, but let's just go back to 1960. You know, like how crazy were things then? I think people had another word for it. It wasn't VUCA, but I'm sure huge unrest, potential nuclear war. There's all these kind of things in the world. And then we had these really visionary leaders show up, like John F. Kennedy and MLK, who, showed big visions of what's possible. And I think I think there are moments of turmoil, and you do need visionary leaders more than ever. And so then I'm going to fast, forward to now. I think that there are a lot of people who, who I would say in the past were held up as great leaders. Let's say, and not to put a name, but I will, like Jack Welch. And so, oh my gosh, read Jack's book. There's no purpose in that other than making money and how to extract as much from humans as you possibly could in the process. And here's like a 6-step way to do it. And if you're not extracting 20%, get rid of them. Like I just and we held him up as this leader. And I think that now, and it was the 80s, and kind of you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's what you do. And I think I love this new generation who's coming up and who insists on purpose. I think it's great, and I have grown to insist on purpose. It's not God. We don't have much time on this planet. We don't have much time here, and I think we all have gifts that we're given, and if we're not putting those gifts in a place to make a difference, and I think people are starting to say that, like, I don't want to work in a place that is just like here to make money, period. Now you have to make money to stay in business. I mean, that's a valid thing, but doing it just to make someone else rich feels like not as much fun. And maybe you'll get rich in the meantime. That sounds terrible. I think we're all want to make change and be a part of kind of whatever that is. And I think you're hearing that more. People not kind of a wish, but demanding it.
I'm seeing that a lot. I think in organizations, there's more and more organizations who talk about fun. There aren't many talking about love yet, but they say, well, why come to work if it's not fun? Let's make it fun. The next step is the love bit.
I remember if Costa Carthotis, who was a CEO of Fossil, my time there, and he said, when we're talking about culture, if we have to use the word fun, it's probably not fun. He's always kind of had this like, okay, let's think of, what does it look like to come to work and like the people that you work with. And so he had his own version of that. But he goes, I don't want to call it fun. Like, I just want to use that word. Like, I just want people to have here and have a good time. Yeah. And that was his definition, which always hit me, pretty funny. He used to walk by, like, his version of fun was like riding around the office on a skateboard. And then he would, like, if you're in a meeting, he would like put his face on the glass and blow his mouth up big. You know how that thing like kids do? And he would just suddenly like turn around, blow his face on the glass, and he'd move on. And like he made it okay to not take yourself seriously. He's a CEO who did not take himself seriously, and he did weird moments like that. And you're like, okay, let's go. And I don't know, he didn't that. So I knew what fun meant in that text without saying the word fun. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Dean, you spent 7 years at what I regard as the most advanced company from a culture point of view in the world, Patagonia. Yvon Chouinard's recent transfer of the company to ownership by effectively the earth is, to me, really representative of their pioneering spirit. What, from your perspective, were the key elements, aspects that enable the company to thrive both internally and externally?
Well, I think Yvon says, and I think this is a quote from someone else, but if you're not leading an exam in life, you're not leading a good life. And kind of like continue. I think Patagonia is this kind of company that is always re-examining where we are. So I'll talk about this. And the mission in the beginning was, save the planet, do no unnecessary harm, and inspire others to do the same. So there's kind of this statement around that, and that was our mission statement. What we realized in the process of just stating that, do no unnecessary harm, we were still harming the planet. So this is the kind of in a re-examine life. Yvonne finally said, oh my gosh, our mission is to save the planet, not like kill it slower than everybody else. And so we changed the mission to our mission is to save our own planet, period. And that's leading to examine life. Are we really doing that? Are we really like saving the planet if we're like making stuff that just kills everything slower? So anyhow, that changed everything, and it changed the model. And I think that's the great thing about Patagonia is they kind of continuously re-examine kind of the target and how we're talking about it. And then everything is in service to that. Yeah. We're crystal clear about A, the planet is in trouble. B, if we don't do something, then there's no business, no planet, no business. And in kind of the VUCA world that you're talking about, floods, hurricanes, sea rise. Well, these all are highly disruptive and very expensive to business. If we don't figure it out, there's a lot of businesses that are going to be gone. And you think about COVID, retail evaporated because of the global pandemic. Like all stores are boarded up all over the country still from this pandemic. It's a part of kind of what the change is coming. So anyhow, Patagonia is crystal clear about where they're headed. And I like even the value of nursing women. That is, it's important to Patagonia for women to be able to bring the children to work and nurse. And I tell you my experience when I first got there. I was new to Patagonia, and I had gotten news that we were building a childcare center in our warehouse in Reno, and it was going to be delayed. And so I called the wife of Yvonne, Melinda Chenard, and I said, "Hey, Melinda, just let you know, this is going to be delayed 3 months." And she said, "Really? Okay." Every single woman who is nursing right now is on paid leave. I want you to put an announcement on the speaker, like, everyone who's on there is now on paid leave. Go home and feed your babies. So she's like, until that thing is done, I'm not having another single woman not be able to feed their baby anymore. So anyhow, I am so clear after that moment, like I'm going to make sure that, women have the ability to be with their babies while they're nursing at all times. That's such a crystal clear thing for me. And anyhow, I could give you a million examples of employees making decisions without getting permission because we're crystal clear about what are our missions, what is the mission of the company, where are we headed, and what are our values. And so that's just an example of how I got it wrong. And then I was like, ooh, I know exactly how to make decisions now around it.
It reminds me of a very good colleague of mine when I was in the Marines, and we used to talk about mission-based leadership. And it's fascinating because I'm giving a talk soon about Admiral Nelson and his life, and particularly in the context of the Battle of Trafalgar. And one of the things that stands out about Nelson is that his men, and it was men on board ship, loved him. And he used to call all his captains together before going into battle, and they would all talk about what is the mission, what is the outcome that we're trying to achieve. Because he knew that once the battle started, I mean, they didn't have any radio or anything like that. All they could do was hoist flags. Yeah. And you get smoke, and the first thing that came down were the masts. So you lost all ability to signal. So what was so important was to be able to empower each of the captains in their own ships to take decisions in the context of that is the overall outcome that we are looking for. And
Yeah.
they felt so empowered. I mean, that's why they were so successful at the Battle of the Nile, because they took the enemy completely by surprise, because in the moment captains made decisions that nobody would have expected. And
Yeah,
it's fascinating
Yeah.
how that was in sort of the late 1700s, and here we are today, and we're still, I mean, basically that's a kind of perfect delegation, and we're still talking
Yeah.
about, let's delegate. And it's like, it's so fundamental. And so,
Yeah, there's another funny story at Patagonia. So there's at some point a pair of shorts is released, and someone sees the inside of them, and in the tag, this particular line of shorts, it says, "Vote out the assholes." It just says that. It had a huge media impact. We sold a ton of shorts after that, and no one got any permission to do it. The person who's just designing the shorts put a tag that said "Vote out the assholes," and so anyhow, everyone loved it, and it ended up being a huge hit, and we sold a ton of shorts. And anyhow, it was a without spending a dime, we had this huge media campaign about, Patagonia has assholes in the inside of their shorts. Spending the designer this right, and so you just put a little tag in there and had them design put out the assholes. So anyhow, that's just a funny example where we're like, yes, that was so funny, and right, and we made money. We sold a lot of shorts.
Yeah. Well, it was one of the early advertising things was, don't, what did they say? Don't buy
this jacket.
Don't buy the jacket.
Yeah. And that's the truth. I mean, what it's saying when you read the print on that was like, if you don't need this jacket, please don't buy it. Use the jacket that you have. But if you need another jacket and you want it to last forever and hand it down to your children, then this is it. And then Patagonia backs that up. For example, we'll repair, replace everything.
Yeah.
No matter what, we'll repair, replace it. And hopefully we'll repair it. And we design everything to be repaired, by the way. So zippers are designed to rip out. And so it's kind of creative design is designed to kind of hey, if we need to do this, repair it. The other thing is, if you don't want it anymore, we'll buy it back. We're doing everything we can do to keep it out of a landfill by buying it back, repairing it, or making it so good you can give it to your children. So anyway, that's saying I'm doing what we can. We're doing what we can.
Gives me shivers up and down my spine when you say that. It's just so right. I'm looking at, I've got a couple of his books, but I've got the Responsible Company, and I talk to people about it, because it's like everyone says they want to be sustainable, and what Yvonne says in this is nobody's sustainable.
No one's sustainable.
So we have to be responsible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so grown up in a sense, and with such a respect for the context and the environment that we're all in. Anyway,
you're right. The person that had a lot to do with that book too, and is Yvonne's nephew, Vincent Stanley.
Right.
And I love his job. He's called the philosopher. He is our philosopher at the company. How many companies have a philosopher? And Vincent is, and his wife Nora is also just a wonderful human, and she does a lot of the editing and kind of knows the voice of Patagonia. But my ultimate goal in life was someday to be the philosopher of Patagonia. And so I have these beach walks with Vincent, and I just listen to him, and he's so wise and kind, and he's just a good human. And so he had a big part of that, and continues to kind of think about how do we be a responsible business. And he always kind of jokes. He's like, I'm not a climber or a surfer. I like came out of here. I'm like this oddball at Patagonia. And I feel like I fit right in and kind of figuring stuff out. But he is, I learned so much from Vincent and Nora, and there's just so many wise people at Patagonia here, like, you know, like Vincent and Yvonne and Melinda and Rose are just so inspiring. Yeah.
But when you have a purpose like that, I mean, almost, it feels to me, but almost by definition, you're going to attract fabulous people who resonate with that. Because if they're not going to resonate, they're not going to come, because it's too wacky, it's too weird. So, what were your main learnings as a leader during the time you were at Patagonia?
Well, there's so much I learned and I unlearned being a leader at Patagonia. I think the biggest thing I learned, if I like take one big chunk of things, if you have a value, you better value it. Like if you say that this is important, then you do at any cost, like no matter what. And you don't even think about it. Like when I get questions a lot, because Patagonia is on-site childcare, and they're like, well, what was the ROI? I'm like, Patagonia never did an ROI. Like that's the value in this is we're going to take care of children. They're going to be close to their parents, so they don't have to separate them. We're going to raise amazing kids who like we take their shoes off when they walk in. They like understand. There's a whole area where they just get to play in mud and dirt. Like they're just like close to the planet. And so, you know, providing this thing for parents is, it's a value, because these are the people we're saving the planet for, by the way. And I call it the Ultra Succession Plan because people who are raised in it are now workers and leaders at Patagonia too. So we have some of that. But my point is, I always knew that I didn't need an ROI for whatever it was on childcare. By the way, there's a huge ROI on it because we eventually did it because we kept getting questioned. But if you value it, then it probably the ROI isn't relevant. Now, in the end, as Yvonne says, when you stick to your values, you make profit. Like there's something in that. It's just, I think it makes an ease of decision making. I'll take like a value, like we want to get back to the planet. We give 1% of all profits to the planet for every sale. Not profits, excuse me, top line revenue. It doesn't matter. If we don't make a profit, we still give 1% of revenue to the planet. So there was a I don't know, 6 years ago, there was an interesting election, and we were approaching Black Friday, and which is the biggest sale day of the year. And so we were trying to figure out what to do on that Black Friday and what's our decision, how would we handle this. And the marketing team is meeting, and there's a new person in marketing there, and they're trying to figure out, someone says, what do we get 5%? And they're like, okay, so if 1% we'll get 5%. Other one's like, let's just close all the stores, put a sign up and go volunteer for the planet. Like, okay, that's kind of going through these ideas. And someone says, let's give it all away. And the head of marketing goes, let's do that. Yes, let's do that. Let's give it all away. Sends a text to Rose Marcaria, the CEO. Hey, on Black Friday, we want to give all the money away. And she goes, oh, yes. And then she calls Yvonne and Melinda and says, on Black Friday, we're going to give all the money away across the world, everywhere, every top line dollar, not profit, revenue. And we're going to give it to the planet. And they're like, yes. So anyhow, we usually make $3-4 million. We made $12 million. And on that day, we gave away $12 million in a single day across the world. We got huge media attention. We didn't spend a dime on marketing, by the way. We just put it on our website and it just went. And people came and bought it because they knew that all their stuff was going to go to the planet. And what happened was we sold so much inventory, it cleaned it out. We ended up having the biggest revenue and the highest margins and the best profit in the company in the history of the company that year. The year we gave away everything on Black Friday. That's example of fast decision making, a value that's super clear, and also how at the end of the day it's good for business. So anyway, just like I love that story, and it was funny seeing it happen because I was there, and it was like, we're giving it all away. That's so freaking cool. And yeah. I get so many of these stories, and I get this reinforcement about we're saving the planet. And by the way, these, like, when you have a value, it's always not a straight line. Like, some of these values are there are paradoxes built into them. You know, if you make the best product and do no unnecessary harm, save the planet. So in the process of making the absolute best, highest quality product you can, so it lasts forever, there are products that some of the materials are just not, they do damage the planet. Like, you know, like we hand wring a lot in the board around these kind of like quality and damage, and kind of what is this balance. And I think it's always, the board talks more about that conversation about how we live our values and the paradoxes in those than like how much money we're making. We don't have any PowerPoints on that. We know the company's doing well, but it is really about these really difficult paradoxes that we face. I'll throw one out. DWR, which is the material that keeps water repellent. Not the best thing in the world, but like, if you're going to make a rain jacket, you got to put this on there. Your other option is palm oil, which is a horrible, even worse option than DWR. So we studied butterfly wings to understand how they repel water. We're trying to solve for this, and we will, by the way. We're going to solve for it. But if we don't, we're going to stop selling rain gear. Like that, there's a date that Patagonia would just get out of the business if we can't solve for this. That's a value. There's a paradox. We'll either make amazing raincoats, or we will make them that don't damage the planet, or just stop making them. And we've done that with footwear. We decided we'd get out of that business. There are other businesses we decided to get out of, which is we can't make it in a way that isn't that we can go to sleep at night.
Yeah. Amazing. Authenticity is also increasingly important. So how can you tell if a company's purpose is authentic or not? Have you come across businesses where they're talking the talk but not walking the walk?
Look at the CEO. How's the CEO behaving? Like, are they walking the talk? Because that's who they're looking at. Like, whatever the purpose is, if the CEO and the leadership team is behaving that way, then it's authentic. And I think there are just so many ways. It's authentic when your mission, your purpose is when you do something, make a decision, doesn't make money, or you do something that make a decision that you lose a little money. Like, you still want to run a great business. I'm not saying like it's not inspiring to run a business that goes out of business, but I do think, when you have a purpose, you and a mission and a value, it has to scream. Like, that's, I've been telling people, like, you have to be so crazy loud. Like, if you support activists, if you really do support activists, then if they get thrown in jail for being an activist, then bail them out, pay for their bail, pay for their time off. Like, teach them how to be activists if you support people being activists. If that's your value, and Patagonia is, they'll bail you out of jail. As a matter of fact, the head of Europe during the Extinction Rebellion was picked up, and the entire leadership team was picked up by the police during that and taken away. And you can see that it's on the cover of the Amsterdam paper. And the only person who wasn't arrested was the head of HR. She's an Irish woman. She's like, someone has to bail you out. So anyhow, yeah, it's just an example of, a walk in the talk when the head of Europe gets arrested for living our purpose and our values. That's walking the talk. As a matter of fact, when I first got to Patagonia, I said, "Who's been arrested for peaceful protest for the planet?" And one person raised her hand. It was Rose Macario. So now the two people I know that have been arrested are Rose, the CEO, and then Ryan, who ultimately moved from Europe and became the CEO. So the two CEOs are two that people that have been arrested. Yeah, I that's when, and if you see, you know, someone saying, well, this is our mission, our purpose, but we had to make this other decision, then it's not. You just see it's lived in the big moments and the little moments, by the way. You know, certainly there are big moments that I'm talking about, but I can count 100 little moments when I'm like, oh, that was right. That was good. I'm clear. Yeah. And I know other examples where you like have the talk and it's beautiful and it looks great on a plaque. And then at the end of the day, like, we're not doing it. You know?
Dina, I think we're just about out of time.
Oh my gosh, it went so fast. Yeah, as all of our conversations do, Thom. So I always feel like they end too soon. So I really appreciate this.
Well, Dean, it's just so inspiring to talk with you, and I'm so grateful that you gave the time. Thank you so much. I'm really excited for everybody to hear what you share and your ideas and what you say, because it really is inspiring, and I really hope that it helps people to really express themselves and be authentic, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's a very good fortune of just, you know, being around some really extraordinary people, and I just am a student. I'm constantly a student, and yeah, the more I can hang out with people who are inspiring, I just listen and learn.
Yeah.
Great.
So thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Thom. Yeah. It's been nice.
Good luck with whatever comes next.
All right. Well, I'll keep you posted on that. So that should be good. All right.
Take care.
Have a good day.
All right. Bye.